13 million times last year, an American family's power got shut off for non payment. 94 million final notices went out right before that. This month, the rules that kept the lights on through the summer heat, well, they started expiring. And whether yours stay or comes down to a map that most people have never seen, you need to learn about this. Here's the full story and how to find your state on that map.
It is August in Oklahoma, and the air conditioning is running on almost every house on the street. Inside one of them, somebody is looking at a balance on a phone screen, doing arithmetic about how many more days they can leave it on. Last year in that state, the power got cut off for unpaid bills more often per customer than anywhere else in America. And here is the part nobody expects. For most of those households, it will not happen in August. It happens in October. 4 months ago, the federal government published something that had never existed before: a count. Every utility, every month, every residential shutoff for non-payment across the whole country. Before that, the national figure was an estimate built from fewer than half the states. Now, there is a real one, and it is 13.4 million. 13.4 million times in a single year an American household had its electricity switched off for money. Nearly 95 million final notices went out ahead of those. On the gas side, 1.7 million shutoffs and another 27 million notices. And I want to be careful with those numbers because they are going to get misquoted everywhere this week. That 13.4 million counts events, not families. The report says so directly. One account can be disconnected more than once in a year, and 11.4 million accounts were reconnected inside that same year, which is around 85% of them. The report also admits it never measured how long anybody sat in the dark. So some of these were a few hours and some were permanent, and nobody separated them. Say all of that out loud, and the number is still staggering. 13.4 million. In a country with 143 million residential electricity customers. Nobody was counting until 4 months ago, which means every rate increase ever approved in this country was approved by regulators who did not know this figure. And it is worth knowing why it did not exist. In 22 states, utilities were never required to report household disconnections at all. The industry argued for years that producing this data would be burdensome and expensive. When the government finally asked, 93.5% of electric utilities answered, and 96% of gas utilities did. It turned out they could produce it in a year. Now look at who it is reaching, because that has moved. About a third of American households, roughly 43 million homes, reported energy insecurity in the latest survey. That means going without or cutting something else to pay the bill. And the fastest growing group is not the one you would guess. Households earning $60,000 to $100,000 a year went from about 1 in 5 reporting an energy insecurity to about 1 in 3 in 4 years. That is the middle of the income distribution. Those are people who used to pay the power bill without looking at it. Residential electricity prices climbed over 7% in a single year, which is more than double the rate of general inflation. Around 21.5 million households are behind on an energy bill right now. And low-income households spend about 8.5% of everything they earn on energy, roughly 3 times what everybody else pays. We showed you the bill going up in the data center video. This is what happens when it cannot be paid. Investor-owned utility profits went up in the same year, and I will let you sit with that ordering. And somewhere on that street in Oklahoma tonight, somebody is checking a balance before they touch a thermostat. That is the part that does not show up in any data set. The house is not dark yet, it is just warmer than it should be, on purpose. So here's the thing that actually decides what happens to you, and almost nobody knows it. There is no federal law restricting when a utility can shut off your power for non-payment. There never has been. Congress has never passed one. 50 states wrote 50 different answers. Arizona bans it outright from the 1st of June to the 15th of October. California restricts disconnection during declared heat conditions.
Hey, everyone, real quick, just to jump in, let's talk about debt. If you are in debt and you want to get out of it and you want to break this cycle once and for all, links down below to my Debt Dominate program. It's a game changer. It's a video course. It's easy to take, easy to follow, and easy to implement. You can implement it within the first 3 days. You'll see a massive difference. Links down below. Now let's get back to this video.
Indiana protects enrolled households when the heat index climbs past 95 degrees. Minnesota and Wisconsin have strong winter bans that do absolutely nothing for you in July. Ohio and Pennsylvania give you a right to a payment plan rather than a ban. And then there is the other column: Oklahoma, Texas, Florida, Georgia, Tennessee. No seasonal ban at all. Owe money, and the power can go off in any month on the calendar. Now put that next to the shutoff rankings because they line up in a way that should bother you. By rate, the worst states last year were Oklahoma at 2.5% of customers a month, then Texas, Florida, Alabama, Louisiana, Tennessee, Mississippi. By raw volume, Texas was first at about 3 million, Florida second at 2.1 million, Oklahoma third. The hottest states in the country largely have the weakest protection, and they are also the states doing the most shutting off. Let me give you the honest counter-argument here, because it exists. Summer is not the crisis month. July was the lowest month of the entire year, under 1 million disconnections. 85% of accounts got reconnected. Assistance funding did not get cut, it went up slightly. And most utilities are doing roughly what their regulators tell them to do. All of that is true. Here is what survives it. The count is 13.4 million, and nobody was keeping it. The growth is in the middle class, and almost every protective deadline in this country expires inside the same 8 weeks this autumn. Watch what is already moving. In Washington, D.C., the City Council passed an emergency bill in the spring creating a 90-day pause on Pepco shutoffs for anyone owing under $1,000. Rates had gone up, people complained, the council acted. That pause ended on the 28th of July. Pepco still runs a 45-day notice process, which means the first customers who lost that protection start becoming disconnectable in September. In Rhode Island, the utility is asking for roughly a 15% increase on winter electricity, moving the rate to about 17 cents a kilowatt hour from just under 15. It is proposed, not approved, and the regulators have not signed off. The governor declared an energy affordability emergency on the 23rd of July and floated about $28 million in credits to soften it. That increase is dated to begin the 1st of October. Now hold 3 things next to each other. October is the single biggest month for shutoffs in the entire federal data set, at about 1.5 million. The Rhode Island increase is dated the 1st of October, and the federal budget year starts the 1st of October, carrying a proposal that eliminates the program that helps people pay these bills. That program is worth understanding properly, because the brief version you will hear is wrong. It was not cut. It got about $4 billion for this year, a small increase, and all of it has been released. What happened instead is that the entire federal staff who ran it was dismissed last spring and never replaced. States are administering it with no federal guidance. This year's money came in 2 pieces after repeated delays, with the last $400 million not landing until April. And the next budget proposes ending it. So the money is there, and the machinery around it is gone. Which means the same money buys less help than it did last year, even though the number in the appropriation went up. Which brings me to the only part of this you actually control, and you should do it while the lights are still on. Apply for energy assistance now, before anything happens. It is federally funded, it is running, and eligibility generally reaches households under 150% of the poverty line or 60% of your state's median income. Call your utility and ask about arrearage management by name. Ask about a payment plan and ask what it costs, because some of them add fees on top of what you already owe. Most states have a medical protection for households that depend on electricity for equipment or health. I want to be straight with you. The rules differ by state, and I am not going to tell you yours has one. What is true everywhere is that it requires paperwork, usually a form signed by a doctor, and it has to be on file before there is a problem, not after. And find your own state's rules rather than trusting anybody's summary, including mine. Your state utility commission publishes the disconnection rules. That is the only document that governs your house. Back to that street in Oklahoma. The air conditioning is still running tonight. The bill for it prints in a couple of weeks, and the month when this country actually turns people's power off is 9 weeks away, which is enough time to file a form and not nearly enough time to save the money. So tell me where you are. What state, and does your utility have the right to shut you off in August? The lights go out in America, one final notice at a time. Economic Ninja is out.